Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody's well today and keeping cool. I was going to take you out of doors today and try something new, but because we're in the middle of this heat wave here in New England, it's just a little too hot on at noontime on a sunny day like it is today. So I'm going to give you a quick lesson on how to begin painting a landscape painting with watercolor. If you were tuning in earlier and saw that I was experiencing some technical difficulty, I'm sorry. Hopefully it'll work a little bit better this time. I want to give you the website address so that you can go and sign up for notes, because I'm going to be making a very big announcement shortly regarding some live classes that I will be offering in the month of July here in Connecticut. And so if you're in the area, I'd love for you to join us. It's perfect for beginners, and it's going to be a really nice time. So please subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage so that I can let you know about all of the events, the schedule, and there will also be some special surprises. So this is a great time for you to learn about all the things that are coming right up. I'm going to just double check my settings and see if anybody's out there. If you're watching, you can hear and see me. Please let me know, because I don't want to be talking to myself here. So to start with, I'm going to take some clear water on my brush, and I'm just moistening the paper a little bit, and I'm going to begin with the sky. So I'm just adding a little bit of blue, and I'm going to leave areas of white on the paper for cloud shapes. I'm going to have a little bit of a horizon off in the distance and a little more color. So there's the sky, and then I'm also going to have a ground plane. Now the subject that I'm painting is actually the view outside my window. So I'm redesigning it to suit the proportion of the paper. And this paper is 3.5 by what? 4? 5. 5 inches wide by 3.5 high, and that is half a sheet of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. And if you're interested in any of the supplies that you'll see me using today, please check back after the video, and I will put a link in the description to let you know what supplies I used. So the paper now is still pretty wet. You can see the shine on it. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Let me have a sip of coffee. Okay, that's better. So what I'm going to do is, for the sake of the video, I'm going to use my heat tool to dry the paper off a little bit. Because the heat tool is noisy, I'm just going to mute the sound for a moment. There we go. So now it's still a little bit damp, but it's dry to the touch, which means that I'll be able to paint over my initial wash without disturbing it. And I'm just going to indicate a tree line off to the side, and I'm also going to place some trees going back into the distance. I want to keep this edge soft and blended. And I'm going to add a little bit of sunshine to one side of the trees. And I'm just keeping it kind of abstract at this point. Not a lot of detail. We'll get to the detail more in a little while once I get these big shapes established. Now under the trees, of course, there's going to be some darker shadow areas. So I'm just increasing the value under the trees. And what I mean by value is the measurement of light to dark. And it looks like, I can't tell, but it looks like I'm freezing again. I'm just going to keep going, and if I need to, I will upload the video separately, so it may not be alive, but you'll be able to see the completed picture. So I'm continuing to increase my values. I want the trees to silhouette against the sky. And I want my distant tree line to be lighter and cooler so that it goes back into the landscape. And then as things get closer to us in the foreground, I'm going to make them darker and warmer. Now outside the window right now there is a lot of green. We've had plenty of rain this spring, so that all of the flowers and shrubs and the trees have put on a tremendous amount of growth, and it seems like the landscape went from a spring looking landscape to full tilt summer. So it's very leafy out there right now. I'm hoping that the heat wave won't dry out the plants too much. I hope that they're able to survive the hot weather. Alright, so there is my beginning. Okay, so you can see it's very sketchy. It's some basic tones, basic values, predominantly blues and greens with a little bit of violet in the shadow areas. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. Okay, and these are sable brushes, so I've got a number 4 and a number 7. So I'm switching to the 4 brush, and these are round, so they've got a beautiful point, which is great for drawing with. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sketch some details on here. But before I do that, I'm going to mute one more time and dry it off a little bit. Now you don't have to have a heat tool to dry your watercolors off in between washes. I'm just doing that because I want to move more quickly for the purpose of shooting the video. But if you were practicing or sitting outside in nature, your painting would probably be drying quick enough, and particularly outside, if it was dry and if there was a breeze, it would dry very quickly. But by allowing it to dry in between washes, what's happening is that the brush will not pick up the marks that I put down previously. I'll be able to go over the top of those marks without disturbing them. And so now I'm mixing up a darker green, a little on the blue side, and I think you'll be able to see how I can get into some of these shadow areas. I'm going to zoom you in so you can see even closer. So I can start to indicate some of the texture of those leaves and the areas underneath the trees. Maybe some grasses, some understory plants. So there we go. I'm just softening some of those edges here and there. Now, as I look out my window, I've got a fence line that goes down the slope here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a kind of a neutral color. This is my yellow, red, and blue all mixed together. And I'm going to begin to indicate some of these fence poles. They're actually tree trunks. So they're different shapes and sizes. All right, so there's that. And then I'm going to go back in with my darker mixture, and I'm just going to indicate the shadow side, like so. And then I'm going to take some of my dark green mixture and I'm going to put in some of the grasses that are growing at the foot of the fence posts. Okay, and I can soften that just like so. So there is my fence post, and I can make any adjustments. Because I'm painting lightly, I have room to make adjustments. So if I take a look at what I've got on the page, I can decide whether or not I need to go a little bit darker. I could add some horizontal lines indicating the fence. It's pretty rustic. Now, basically what I have here is I've got my sky, I've got the distance, I've got this middle ground, and so now I just want to establish my foreground. Let me get this on here so you can see better. There you go. So in the foreground, as I look out my window, what I see is a lot of foliage. So there's a lot of shrubs growing up. Maybe some of these things should be cut back. I've got the lawn peeking out a little bit behind those things. There's a small tree growing over here. And that's kind of going off the side here like so. Alright, so what I have now is another layer of value. And what I mean by that is it's darker. So I've added another shade of value to my foreground to bring that forward. And I can make the colors richer or stronger because colors appear brighter, richer, and stronger as things come forward. Objects going back into space are going to look cooler, bluer, grayer, more indistinct, so I can help to establish the feeling of depth in the picture by adjusting my values and colors accordingly. Now, if this interests you and you'd like to learn more about all of these terms and techniques and how an artist reads a scene and translates it into a painting, then I would urge you to join the Watercolor Card Club, and you can do that on my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com. Look for the Watercolor Card Club, and you'll find out all the information there about how you can subscribe to learn how to paint a new subject each month. And while you're on the website, please subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage, because I'm going to be making some announcements, and there's going to be some changes that I think you're going to love to the Watercolor Card Club. And there's going to be a special promotion for those of you who sign up in time for the new launch of the Watercolor Card Club, so please stay tuned for that. Alright, so now I think you can see we're getting a little bit of distance in the painting, and I'm starting to get a little more texture, so the trees are starting to look like they've got some leaf shapes. I can add to that and give a little more leafy edge in some of these trees in the middle ground. Okay, as my art instructor used to say, places where the birds can fly through. And I can start to observe some of the branches in the trees and get those indicated. So I'm just using the tip of my brush to draw the trunks, some branches, and I'm observing the way that the trees are growing. There we go. And then this area is actually part of the lawn, and it's getting a lot of sunlight on it right now. So I'm going to put a little more yellow as it's coming forward. And again, in the foreground, I can increase the shadow areas underneath these shrubs, like so. Maybe some additional shapes. Now, as things come closer to us in the landscape, they also become warmer. So I can start to introduce some of my more of my reds and my yellows to indicate that. Maybe there are some branches that are turning brown, and that's just going to help to pull the eye forward. Additionally, there may be some broken sticks on the ground, so I can get some nice dark accents. Maybe some stones. Okay, so that's going to help to pull the eye forward, and I feel like I want to have something a little more on this side. So what I have outside my window here is my trellis that my raspberries grow on. So I'm going to add the post to the trellis. So there it is. Make that a little thicker. And it has a kind of a cross section that the wires are attached to. And there's actually 3 of them, but I'm just going to add the one for now. And I'll just add an indication of the cables. And there are some raspberry plants growing around that, and they kind of have this arced shape, so I can sort of indicate that arcing of the branches just with a couple of little strokes. And again, the shadow area. There we go. All right, so I think that's enough information for you for a quick little landscape. I'm going to zoom you out and grab my heat tool again. Okay, so there's my little landscape. I have a mat here. Actually, I need a different size mat, so let me grab that. This color is called Pebbled Path. And I think that looks nice. So I'm going to give it a 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch all around. So I'm just going to trim that down. When you join the Watercolor Card Club, all of these layers are included in your kit. So you will have the paper cut to size to match the mat, and that will fit nicely on your card front. Now, what I'd like to do is I would just like to add a little bit of glue around the edges. Mount that onto my mat. Make sure that's nice and straight. Once that's positioned where I want it, I can take my bone folder, make sure that that glue is spread out nicely and everything is glued down well. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Now, in the case of the card base, the card is a little bit higher than the width or the height of the painting. And that's perfect because what that does is it gives you a little bit of an extra space down below that makes the card feel more balanced. And also you could, if you choose to, you could also put a signature down there or a little note, whatever you'd like. So for instance, I could take a pencil and I could sign my name. Okay. And there is your beautiful note card ready to go and surprise somebody with a wonderful piece of original art in the mail. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that gave you some ideas. I hope you'll give it a try. Remember to please subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage so I can let you know about all the wonderful new classes I have coming up live here in my area, and also the corresponding online classes that I'll be offering as well. And if you're interested in the Watercolor Card Club, you can go to the website and you can learn more about the Watercolor Card Club too. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.